Hello there, my name is Robin and I recently survived 1 year in my storied Minecraft survival world. To celebrate the occasion, here's 5 build ideas recorded in a creative copy of my world because I don't want to die. Number 1. Find yourself an empty stretch of water and build something like this. Measuring 9 by 9 and about 13 blocks tall, this is quite a small build, yet it has all the details to sell you on its purpose. A life vest right next to the door in case you can't swim, ladders to safely get in and out of the water, an antenna to stay in radio contact with the shore. The number 4 banner suggests this build isn't the only one out here. Do the others still need to get built, or were they lost to time? I really don't know. I used the yellow and white color scheme for this build and decorated with sea pickles, dripstones and leaves to reflect the surroundings. But if you were to build something like this in a warm ocean, why not add coral fans as a detail? Inside a cold ocean, I'd probably change the color scheme to a red, maybe an orange, and I would add snow layers and icicles, aka end rods. I could even see this build work in the nether atop a lava lake. Then I'd probably switch the yellow to blue. On the inside, the build is fully kitted out with a bed, a crafting table and some storage containers, making this an ideal home away from home, or why not a starter base. In real life, this thing would be used to mark a shipwreck, a coral reef, a sandbank, which is something you could definitely replicate inside your own world. I'm using this build as an access point to a secret underground facility, which is why there's a spiral staircase leading down. Now, I wouldn't recommend you build spiral staircases because they're a pain to use, but we're going down anyway because that's where we'll find my second build idea. Number 2. Build a wine cellar. This one here is quite small, but I think you still get the idea thanks to the vaulted ceiling and all these barrels and amphoras spread around the room. This here, for example, is a very fine Dom Perignon from 53, but I can also recommend this Wasserling or the Chateau de la Pompe from 1999. Accidental spillages happen when you've had too much to drink, which is why I installed this gutter in the floor. Within my world, this build doesn't serve any purpose beyond looking good and adding a bit of flavor to the story. But if you are in need of a purpose, why not add an auto brewer to the equation? The redstone could be hidden somewhere inside the back wall, or you leave it out on full display. That could also be really nice. And if wine is not your thing, why not turn the space into a beer cellar, a rum cave, or a place where apple cider is being stored? Number 3. Build a machine. What you see here is my core extraction drill. I built it to dig to the center of this planet, and then I got stuck on an impenetrable layer I'm still trying to work through. Also, the story goes. In reality, I urgently needed a few pieces of pointed dripstone to decorate the first building in this list. As I hadn't been able to find any dripstone caves whatsoever, I turned to chunk base and landed on the spot. At that point, I could have just dug up the dripstone and be done with it. But a machine to do it for me seemed like a fun building challenge. So I looked up a couple of reference images, which is where the machine's overall shape came from. I tried to further sell the idea that this is a real machine by adding this water-based cooling system so the drill won't overheat, and by adding a lever, a button and some other bits and bobs to monitor and switch on and off the contraption. Now, I'm not saying you should build this exact machine in your world, though you certainly can, but it could be fun to come up with your own little story that calls for a machine, and then try to make it as believable as possible. And while you're at it, why not add a bit of redstone magic to make your machine come to life? Number 4. Mark your Minecraft updates. One of the biggest changes you can make to your world, besides the builds you create and the destruction you cause, is to upgrade to a new Minecraft version. I wanted to commemorate these occasions inside my world without explicitly saying I'm upgrading to X or Y, so I built these containers. The big burgundy red one marks the upgrade to 1.21 and 1.21.1, so inside you'll find all the blocks, items and other stuff linked to the Tricky Trials update. The smaller yellow container combines the drops 1.21.2 to 1.21.5, although you probably wouldn't say so, looking at these empty shelves. For story reasons, and also because I haven't visited a pale garden biome yet, I opted for a more cryptic approach in the form of these bundles. Every item they hold refers to a change that's part of one of the drops. Additionally, when it landed, this container took out the tree you see down below. And guess what? Fallen trees are part of 1.21.5. Of course, you don't have to build a container to mark an upgrade to your world. Maybe a new ship sails inside your harbor every time your world upgrades, bringing along all sorts of new goods. Perhaps a new statue arises, marking the occasion. You can make this as complicated or as simple as you like. Number 5. Build a garage. With the release of the Happy Ghast right behind us, a place to stay for a new travel companion could be the build you need. So why not take some inspiration from this garage? The spaceship hangars from the Star Wars movies served as an inspiration, which is why this build has an elongated octagonal shape and a force field for a door. Inside you find a lot of clutter, most of which is redstone components, because this is where I'm building a giant drone. When it's done, the 2 rails against the ceiling will guide the drone outside, where it can take off and land using the launch pad. I've also foreseen a fuel station right here against the back wall. If you were to follow the pipe all the way, you would end up under the floor where the fuel tank sits, but thankfully it's also accessible from the outside. With a bed, crafting table, stone cutter and plenty of storage containers, this build could potentially serve as a starter base, although you do need quite a variety of blocks to which you may not have access at the start of the game. I mentioned you could use this build as a garage for your Happy Ghast, in which case you would have to make it a little taller, and you might want to add an area where you craft, maintain and store its harnesses. You should probably also add a freezer. Here's an example of what it could look like from a different build, to store the Happy Ghast's favorite snack. Right, and that's all I've got for you today. If one of these builds has inspired you, drop me a comment because I'd love to know. This is Robin, not at all on the Zebra mission. Over and out.